Hello everyone and welcome to this CodyHouse tutorial. Okay, so today we will be creating together a card component and we will be using the CodyHouse framework. Now to follow along, you can either download the framework on GitHub and follow the instructions that you will find over here, or you can use our Codepen template. And you will find a link to this template in the description of the video. Okay, so I will be using Codepen and let's get started. So we want to create a card component. What is a card component? So let me show you a few examples here. We have an example on Dribble, and so this is a card. Card is a compact container of information that is used to invite the user to click for more information so that they can access additional information. And you will find this component in so many websites. For example, right now we're looking at the Figma blog. So they use cards to show tasters of their blog posts. And so does Framer, for example. You can see here they have cards with a nice saddle animation when you go over a card. Okay, so we have, if you check our library, by the way, the CodyHouse library, we have many card components already there built for you. So we can use these as an example for our tutorial. In particular, I'm going to merge a few effects for these two components here. I like this background filling effect on the text, as well as this animated icon in the top of the card. Okay, so let's get started. So we can use the Codepen template. I'm going to create a pen from this template. And I'm going to call this card. And this is the design in code series of CodyHouse. All right, so let's start with the code. You can obviously get rid of this stuff. Okay, and of the comments as well. So we want to, first of all, we want to create a container for our card. We're going to use the container class of the CodyHouse framework with the max width of maybe small. We can try small and see later if it works. Then we want to create the card component itself. I'm going to use an article HTML tag. If you don't know what the article HTML tag is, you can check on Mozilla, on the Mozilla website, where they have the definition of the HTML article element, which is a self-contained composition in a document, page, application, or site intended to be independently distributable or reusable. So it's our case. And so let's go back. So here is the article, and then we can put inside, for the moment, just an H1 with some lorem ipsum to get started. Here we go. Right, so you can see maybe this is too much for, in terms of sizing for a card. We can probably reduce the container to XS. So I'm using right now the utility classes of the CodyHouse framework. So this is XS, it's still too much. Let me go to XXS. Let me save as private and let's see what happens. Okay, so let's go for XXXS. Right. Now, let me add some padding as well, padding YLG. All right, so just now, because we want to have a sense of where the card component is, so let me remove JS because we don't need JavaScript for this component. We can actually add the class here of card, and then we can add a background color, and I'm going to use the color background variable. If you're not familiar with the CodyHouse framework, so this is a color in the contrast scales of colors, and stands for the default background color of a component. In this case, it is white. So when we go over the card, we want to see a box shadow as well, and I'm going to use another variable of the framework, which is shadow medium. We probably want to add a transition to box shadow, shadow, 0.3 seconds. As you can see, our card is taking shape. All right, so let me add some other elements to this card. First of all, we want the entire card to be a link. So I'm going to wrap the content into an anchor tag. Let me cut this and paste it here. And now we probably want to add some style here as well. So we want to go for a card. We can just call it card link. And we can stylize the card link. What I really need is a display of block. We want to override the color of the link with a color of inherit. And then we want to remove the text decoration. So we set the text decoration equal to none. Here we go. Now this entire area here is a clickable card. We want to add an image as well. So I'm going to include a figure element with an image. Going to add the alt tag as well, just image description. Never forget to add the alt tag in an image element. Now for the image itself, we can see if we can find something nice on Unsplash. Let me check for architecture. And yeah, this looks fine. We can grab the URL of the small version. Here we go. Now we can paste it here. And now we see it should load the image. Here we go. Now you can see there is some space on the right of the image. And that's because the image is smaller than the card itself. So we want to make sure to select the card element and add the class of block. Now, once again, I'm using utility classes of the framework and the width of 100%. And here we go. Now, the image is taking the whole available space of the card. So no matter how you resize it, it's going to resize with the card. All right. Now, if you resize the window, by the way, you will notice that there is an increase in the spacing values and the typography as well. And this is how the CodyHouse framework works. So this is editable for sure, but the default version of the framework already includes some responsive rules so that you don't really have to worry about that. So the component becomes automatically becomes bigger past a specific breakpoint. Okay. Now we can create another element here where we want to move the H1 inside. So let me copy the H1 and move it here. Okay. And I'm going to use another class of the framework, which is the text component. The text component is used to stylize two or more text elements. So it includes rules about spacing and other stuff concerning typography. Now I want to add some padding here as well. Going to use the padding hyphen medium utility class, and I want to add some border radius as well to the card component. So border radius, and we can use the radius empty variable. Now you want to add an overflow hidden so that we will crop the image as well. We can probably go for a radius large. Here we go. So as you can see, the component is taking shape. Now, if we increase the window, well, the text is is clearly too big on the bigger screens. So we can probably use another utility class for the H1, which is a text size class. We can set equal to text probably LG. Yes. So that the text looks okay in different cases. So probably this is too much for a title of a card. We can try with a different title. We can set, for example, title of the card. Okay, and the text could probably use some size. So let's go for text XL. Okay, title of the card. Maybe it's too much. Let's go back to LG. And this is the title of the card. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to include a little paragraph as well. Let's go with a lorem ipsum, 10 words. Because we want to remove some of the impact of the paragraph, we can use a more subtle color. I'm going to set a color contrast medium to the paragraph. And then now, as you can see, we have a title, a strong title, and then we have some subtle additional information to the cards as well. Okay, so the basic structure of the card is here. We just want to go ahead and add some interesting animations. So first of all, as I said before, we want to try and do something like that. So this nice effect over here. How do we do that? Okay, so let me target the title. Let's add a span element. Let's move this inside the new span element. And let's use a class of card title. Okay. Let's move to the CSS. Now, if we set a background color equal to alpha, which is an alpha function, which is defined in the framework, and it allows you to pass a color variable and then a value for the opacity, in this case 0.2. Now you can see the title has a background color with an opacity of 20%. Right. We want to animate this background, and we can do that using a trick. This is a trick we have as a component, actually. Let me look for text effect. Okay, so we have a component with different kind of text effects. So if you want to learn how to do that, you can just check the component. We are going to do this together as well, but just in case you want to try other effects as well, or you can sometimes you just forget how to do things, like me in this case. So we can look at the code and see what is actually happening. And yeah, so we have not a background color, we have a background image, because we want to animate the background sides. So let's go back to the card. We want to replace this with a background image, and we want to use a linear gradient, and we will pass to this linear gradient twice this same value here. And this is just a trick because we really want to animate this background, and we can't do it if we use a background color. So we need, by the way, a background repeat of no repeat, and then we need a background size of 0% and 100%. So we don't want to change the vertical sides of this background. We want to remove entirely the horizontal sides. So that's why 0% goes here. And I'm going to set background position as well, equal to left center, which means basically if this is the background, it's this point over here. Okay, now when we go over the card, so with hover, we're going to use the hover selector. We want the card title to animate. So we want the background size equal to 100%, 100%. And to see the animation, we need to add a transition here, transition to the background element of 0.3 seconds. So the same duration of the shadow transition. Now, if you go over the card, you can see we have this nice effect over here. And it could be even nicer, I think, if you really want to replicate this effect. Which one is it? This one, right? We can probably set the first alpha value equal to 50%. So let me check. And it's not working, but that's because we need to set this equal to transparent, right? We remove this over here, so transparent, 50%, and then we have this value here, and we need to set 50% here as well, right? Because we don't want any real linear gradient, we want a neat, precise line, and the background is taking half the height of the title. And this effect is really cool because if we have this title over multiple lines, for example, if we add some more text, more line here, more text, whatever, and okay, it's rendered. If we go over the card, you can see the effect is really nice as well. Okay, so let me remove this stuff. This is the title of the card. Okay, so the first effect is done. Now we want to do something else. We want to create this animation, this icon animation over here. So when you go over the card, the icon slides off and then comes back in. So this is like a visual clue to tell the user, look, you can interact with this element, you can click this card and access more content. So let's do it. We can target the anchor tag and include over here an icon. So I'm going to need I already know that we're going to need an icon wrapper. So let's call it card icon wrapper. Now inside this element, we can actually paste the SVG of an icon. Going to use Nucleo, which is our application for managing icon. So arrow right, we want the 24 pixel icon. We can grab this one, looks fine. I think this is the same one that we use in the CodyHouse component as well. And you can see the icon over here. Now we can remove this stuff here and replace it with a class of icon, which is a class of the framework, which gives some style to the icon, as you can see. We can remove the title because we will apply a area hidden equal to true, because we don't want screen readers to announce this element. This is just a visual clue. So screen readers don't really need to announce this. Okay, now let's go back to the CSS and let's stylize this element as well. So we have card icon wrapper. We want to place this element position absolute in the top right corner. So I'm going to set top equal to 0 and right equal to 0, a width of about 3 am and same size for the height, so 3 m. We need to set a position relative on the card element, because as you can see, the icon is moving past the card and we want to bring it back. So now the reference for the position absolute is the card, and we do that by applying a position relative. Now, if we go back to the icon wrapper, we can set a background color equal to, once again, we're going to use the alpha function. This time we use color black, another color of the framework, and we are going to set a 0.85 for the opacity of this background. Now the icon is no longer visible. We can actually use other utility classes to make the icon visible. For example, color white. So colors are utility classes, that apply to colors. Now, because the icons inherit the color of the text, if we use a text utility class on the icon, well, it's going to work for the icon as well. Now we want to change the size here to icon maybe small. Yeah, small looks fine. And we want to place this icon in the center of the icon wrapper, so we can use here a display of flex. Justify content of center and align items of center. So when we do so, we actually move the icon in the center of the flex element. So this is a flex box trick. If you set display flex, justify content center, and align item center, you are moving the children in the center of the flex item. So this is really handy. And now we want to animate this icon. Actually, so this is just a little details. I would rather, so in this component, we don't have border radius. Now we do have a border radius. I think it's nicer if we apply a border radius here, just in this corner as well. So let me target that corner, which is border bottom left radius, and let's apply the same radius of the card, radius LG. There we go. Now I think it looks nicer. Okay, so we can go back to the card element because we want to animate the icon on hover. So here we're going to target the card, icon wrapper, and then we need to target actually the icon with an animation of, we can call this animation card icon animation, always 0.3 seconds. Now we can define the keyframes of this animation of our card icon animation. And so what do we need? So the first step of this animation is obviously a step where the icon is still. So this is like the first frame of the animation. We want an opacity equal to 1, and we want a transform translate x equal to 0%. Okay, at half the animation, so 50%, we want this arrow to move here and disappear at the same time. So we want the opacity to go from 1 to 0, and we want a new value for the translate x. So this becomes 0, and now we have a 100%, so this is too much, 100% translate x. Okay, so as you can see, the icon is moving. Now, the trick here is to target the 51% of the animation to move the icon back over here. So we want the opacity to be always equal to 0 because we don't really want to see the icon moving from right to left. And then we can actually modify this value to a transform translate x minus 100%. And we want to end this animation right where we started. So I'm going just to add the comma and 100% here, and it should work. Here you go. Now you have both the icon animating and the title of the card, the box shadow. So I think overall we have achieved a really nice effect. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you're looking for other card inspiration, I invite you to go and look at our library of components, where you will find actually plenty of card examples. We have, for example, under content and layout, a card category. As you can see, we have so many different options, and we have other cards under blog as well. So these are cards specifically for blog design. for example, this one. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.